Direct News TV. September 22, 2023. Russia-Ukraine War, List of Key Events, Day 577. Fighting. At least one Ukrainian missile hit the headquarters of Russia's Black Sea Fleet in the port of Sevastopol. Kyiv claimed responsibility for the attack on the fleet's HQ in the Russian-annexed Crimean Peninsula. Crimea was also the target of a large-scale attack by computer hackers who targeted the peninsula's internet providers. The cyber attack was described as unprecedented by Moscow-appointed officials in the region. Moscow had two options for the future of Russia's Black Sea Fleet in Crimea: voluntary or forced self-neutralization, the Secretary of Ukraine's Security Council Alexei Danilov said. If Moscow does not choose the voluntary option, it will be sliced up like a salami, Danilov said on social media. Russian aerial defense system destroyed a Ukrainian missile and two drones flying near the Crimean Peninsula, Russia's Ministry of Defense said. Ukrainian operations against Crimea demonstrate Kyiv's growing ability to take the fight to Russian positions, Al Jazeera's Zain Baravi said, reporting from Kyiv, amid the attack on the Black Fleet Navy HQ earlier. One person was killed and 15 injured following a Russian missile attack on the central Ukrainian city of Kremenchuk. 15 people, including a child, were also injured, a local official said. The Institute for the Study of War, ISW, a Washington, D.C.-based think tank, said the Ukrainian army has made progress in its offensive in the south of the country. Ukrainian armored vehicles have been seen operating for the first time beyond the last Russian defense line near Robotyne in the Zaporizhia region, the ISW said. The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense said that of the recent drone and missile attacks on Russian territory, the Kremlin will likely be most concerned about explosions at the Kylovsky military airfield near Moscow. This is a sensitive location because it hosts specialist military aircraft as well as VIP transport for Russian leaders, the ministry said. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky told Canada's parliament that Russia is engaged in genocide against his country. Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said Russia has restarted a systemic campaign of aerial attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure ahead of winter, but the country's air defense systems were better prepared compared with last year. At least one person was killed in Russian shelling in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson. A 25-year-old man was killed and another person wounded when residential districts came under Russian fire in the city, which is close to the front line. Military aid. United States President Joe Biden announced a new military aid package for Ukraine valued at $325 million and said the first U.S.-made Abrams tanks will be delivered to Ukraine next week. Washington has promised that 31 of the highly advanced battle tanks will be sent to Kyiv. Biden also informed Zelensky that Washington would send a number of ATACMS long-range missiles to Kyiv, U.S. broadcaster NBC News reported, citing information from 4 unnamed U.S. officials. Ukraine and the U.S. agreed to launch joint weapons production in a move that will enable Kyiv to start producing air defense systems, Zelensky said. Visiting Canada after his visit to Washington, Zelensky welcomed the announced provision of $650 million Canadian dollars, $482 million, in military aid to Ukraine over 3 years. The aid involved 50 armored vehicles, including those used for medical evacuation. Zelensky said Canada's military support for Ukraine had saved lives. Human rights. Repression in Russia has soared since last year, reaching levels not seen since Stalinist times, a United Nations expert warned. Russia handed down a lengthy prison term to a political activist who used social media to post comments critical of Moscow's war on Ukraine. The activist, Richard Rouse, was sentenced to 8 years in jail by a military court in the central Russian city of Ekaterinburg. Diplomacy. Poland's Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki warned Ukraine's Zelensky to never again insult Polish people. I want to tell President Zelensky never to insult Poles again, as he did recently during his speech at the UN, Morawiecki told an election rally. Zelensky angered his Polish neighbors when he told the UN General Assembly in New York that Kyiv was working to preserve land routes for its grain exports, but that the political theater around grain imports was only helping Moscow. Poland believes the comment was directed at its decision to extend a ban on Ukrainian grain imports in a bid to protect local farmers. The Kremlin said it expects the dispute between Ukraine and Poland, sparked by disagreements over grain exports, to escalate. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Russian President Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine was a break with civilization and a violation of our common humanity. Regional security. Russia and Belarus started joint military drills on Belarusian territory that will last 5 days, Belarus's Ministry of Defense said. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un called for strengthening close contacts with Moscow following his return from a visit to Russia where he held talks with Putin. Kim's visit introduced long-term plans for developing DPRK-Russia relations, state media in North Korea reported, using the acronym of the country's official name. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.